So, hey beautiful people, grass-fed, pasture-raised, grain-finished, organic, conventional beef. What does all of this mean? Some of those titles aren't even regulated. So we are really left in a Wild West situation where just anything goes. That is why this video is so important for you. It'll help you understand what you're buying, the best price for what you're buying, and the best quality of beef, and why to buy certain kinds over other kinds. Are you game? So hey there, my name is Lindy Ford. I am a registered dietitian, clinical and licensed nutritionist, and nutrition detective. I love what I do. I counsel patients all over the US. So if you would like me to send you more information about my practice, go ahead and email me. You will see an email there at the beginning and the end of this video. And please subscribe. Hit the bell, the little bell, and that will tell you when new YouTube videos are coming up. So, grass-fed beef versus conventional beef. Well, we know that conventional beef takes up about 90% of the industry, but I gotta tell you, grass-fed is growing like crazy. So just in a short amount of time, grass-fed has really gained in popularity. So why would farmers even use grain? Well, grain is really not the natural form of what the cows should be eating. That is not what cows should be eating. They should be eating grass, but grain really is cheaper. It is much cheaper, and it fattens those cows or cattle. It fattens them up very quickly for slaughter, and so it makes a lot of sense in that respect, but it is not good sometimes within our bodies. Now, it is also given hormones and antibiotics, and there are really high infection rates, or higher infection rates, when it comes to grain-fed over grass-fed. We'll talk more about those feeding systems in grain-fed cattle, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. But the grain normally that is given to these cattle is really I call it GMO, or the genetically modified soy and corn, and there's a lot of problems with that. They're also fed on wheat and sorghum and barley, and it's almost like it's McDonald's meals all the time for these cows. These cows love grain. Are they really good for us? Just kind of like we like fast food. Is it really that good for us? Not really. It's not good for the cows. It's not. You are, I've heard some people say, you really are whatever your cow or your animal has eaten. You are that as well. So anyway, this gets a little tricky when we're talking about grass-fed. And I want to kind of break this down for you and make it make sense, because at one time in my life, it was a big fuzzy mess in my mind. I'm like, grass-fed and organic, and what are the differences? Well, first of all, grass-fed, there really are no government standards. You need to know that. There is a definition that the USDA came up with in 2017. That doesn't mean that they have a standard. It's just a definition, which is different. It is continuous access to pasture and prevents animals from being fed grain or grain-fed products, okay? But nobody is inspecting. There could be real problems with that when nobody's inspecting, right? And the head of the National Sustainability Agriculture Coalition says, actions such as this take us into the Wild West situation where anything goes, and both farmers and consumers lose. So the fact that the USDA doesn't inspect, and the fact that they kind of let the farmers decide if they're gonna say it's grass-fed or not is a problem. But there's a way around that, and don't leave me, because I'm going to tell you how you can choose really good quality meat. They're generally raised on grass, and then whatever they can forage. And so, in the winter months, they're also fed on hay. So they're generally raised all on grass, and that is what a grass-fed animal is. And so you really do have to know your farm and how they manage their cattle. So you have to know where this stuff is coming from. But the problem with just grass-fed, or just something that just says grass-fed is that there is nothing about hormones, antibiotics, or chemicals, so they can still be used. Now, most grass-fed farmers don't use them. I have to make that disclaimer, but they could be, okay, because there's nothing said about it. Also, grass-fed could mean a different thing in a different country. So it could mean something totally different in Australia than it means here. So just remember that. Then we have another category, and that category is grass-fed or grain-finished. Okay, it gets really tricky, and this is where you have to know who you're getting your product from. It is mostly grass-fed animal, but in the last 30 days, sometimes they're grain finished. Now, why would you even do that? And that is because of taste and marbling and texture. Sometimes a grass-fed product can taste different. And so these farmers want a certain taste in their animal, and they want a little more fat content. And so the last 30 days, they're going to grain finish. Now, you got to know your farm again. You got to know where it's coming from. And I have to say, when I lived up north, I would literally buy half a cow, and it would last us like a year. But I knew it was a grain finished cow. So the last 30 days it was on grain, but I knew this farm. I went to the farm. I saw the happy cows grazing up on the hills. I also talked to the farmer, and they showed me what kind of grains they were being finished. It's not always terrible grains, and these were actually non-GMO, like I would call them heirloom grains, and they were fine, and I was okay with that. Would I rather have the whole life cycle be grass-fed? Absolutely. But sometimes that's not always available. So I knew my farm. The other thing that you can do too is just know where you're buying it. If you can't get it from a farm, like Whole Foods does have some grain finished, but they do really, really strict inspection. So Earth Fare, Whole Foods, places like that are probably going to have a good product. But remember this, and we're going to talk about this in just a minute, but the omega-3, which is so important, omega-3s are so important, that actually plummets after 80 days of being grain-fed. So you don't want your animal being grain-fed too much, and most grain-fed products are only for 30 days. Okay, so then we go to the next category, and that is organic. So how is that different than grass-fed? Well, organic could be grass-fed, and many times it is, but it doesn't have to be. But it has stricter standards. That USDA organic sticker on something makes it more accountable. It means that this is something that the USDA goes out physically and they inspect, okay? It has to be raised on certified organic land for 3 years. They have to have year-round access outdoors, an all-organic diet, non-GMO, completely non-GMO diet, no hormones, no antibiotics. And what I want to show you right now is kind of the best of both worlds. This would be something to look for. This is one of many, but Trader Joe's, let me show it to you, actually makes an organic and grass-fed product. That's going to be your best bet, guys. The price on this is, I think, is really, really good. It's either, I forgot, I'll post it below. It's like $6.59 or $7 a pound. And to me, that's not a bad price for something that is organic and grass-fed. I kind of trust this, and this is something that I would gravitate towards because you don't have the hormones, you have all the benefits, which we are going to get into in just a minute, all the benefits of grass-fed products, and you also have a product that that doesn't have all the crud in it and all the crap in it. Okay, so that's a good product. And then we have another kind of obscure category. Sometimes you'll see pasture raised, and that could actually mean more than cows. Okay, so grass fed is just cows and sheep and goats, but this could even mean chickens and pigs. And if it says pasture raised, what it means is that it has to have access to the outdoors and to a pasture somewhere for 120 days a year. So that's all that it means. It doesn't have any other regulations. There's nothing else. You could use hormones, chemicals. Most of the time they don't, but you could. That's the only stipulation. Another great certification that you could get, this Trader Joe's actually doesn't have it. It probably could, but it doesn't have this certification, is something called an AGA certification, and that is the American Grass-Fed Association. It's a green logo, and it is very, very reputable. So look for that. They have to have 100% forage. They have to be raised in open grass pastures, not just outdoors in a parking lot. They have to, they have to have no hormones, no antibiotics. There are some unscrupulous farms out there. That's why you have to know your farm that will give that animal mostly grain during their lifespan, and then at the end they'll let it go outside and have it feed on a little bit of grass and then call it grass-fed. No thank you. You don't want that. And this if it's AGA certified, this is the, I guess, Rolls Royce of certifications. There is a website called AmericanGrassFed.org, and you can check that out to see if there's any farms in your area that are AGA certified. Other labels would be Animal Welfare Approved, Certified Humane, Global American Partnership, the Food Alliance certification. All of those are great certifications and really up the quality of your meat. Okay, so why even discuss this? Why is grass-fed? What are the qualities of grass-fed that may make it better? And it's going to be your choice. It's your choice whether you think it's even worth a little bit of extra money and extra detective work to figure all this out. First of all, and this is probably my favorite thing about grass-fed, and something that I'm trying to encourage more of my patients to have coursing through their bloodstream, and that is something called conjugated linoleic acid. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it's shortened to CLA. That is a very, very important fatty acid. We don't, or not getting enough, because we don't really consume a lot of grass-fed products. It only comes from grass-fed animal products. And it shows that it decreases body fat. Now, that's in animal studies. The human studies are a little bit mixed on that, but I think that there's some efficacy in that. Supplements don't work, guys. You can take CLA supplements, and a lot of them are not natural. They're just from chemicals and synthetics, and you don't want that. And so I don't trust CLA supplements. I cannot be an advocate for that. So that is only going to come from grass-fed meat and grass-fed dairy. Really, CLA is that's how you get it. Also, CLA decreases your heart disease risk, and it decreases plaque in the arteries. So that's another benefit of CLA, as well as it's a cancer fighter. What we're finding in a lot of animal studies is that it slows the growth of cancerous tumors. So the grass-fed, get this guys, grass-fed, truly grass-fed products, real grass-fed products have 300 to 500% more CLA. That's significant. Okay, the second thing is that it has, grass-fed products have higher omega-3s. Now, I'm going to link a link below about omega-3s and why they're so important. I'll just go over the short list. This is a short list. Decreases the risk of coronary artery disease, decreases the risk of Alzheimer's, fights depression, anxiety, helps with eye health, decreases ADHD and memory issues, decreases inflammation. Inflammation really is the foundation of any disease process. So it decreases inflammation as well as blood sugars. It helps the skin, decreases your cancer risk. I just could go on and on. Omega-3s are that important. I will die on that omega-3 hill. But here's the deal, guys. Grass-fed products have about 3 to 5 times, depending on who you read and who you listen to, 3 to 5 times more than a grain-finished conventional product or a beef product. But it's still, with a grass-fed product, it's still very much lower than salmon. Okay, so it's not like it's the best omega-3 product out there, okay? But it does give you higher amounts than grain finished, okay? Here's number 3. Here's the third reason that grass-fed may be better for you than a conventional grain finished beef product, and that is there are no antibiotics normally or growth hormones. Now that doesn't mean across the board, but most of them. Like I said, it's best if you get that AGA certification or an organic USDA seal on it to make sure it has none of that in it. But a grass-fed product normally is not treated with antibiotics or growth hormones. Guys, I'm telling you, these poor cattle are just getting injected and given ungodly amounts of hormones to fatten them up, and that actually gets translated into our bodies if we eat them. So I'm not a fan. I'm just never going to be a fan of that. Also, this is huge and so important to me. Now, it might not be important to you, but it's very important to me. And that is, it just provides a better living environment for the cows, and also it is better for the environment. So it's better for the animal, it's better for the environment. In most of the conventional feeding practices and feedlots, they are, not every one of them, but most of them, the animals are subjected to something called a CAFO, or a concentrated animal feeding operation. And that is a place where these animals are overcrowded. It is unsanitary. It's just not a lovely pasture to graze on, and they're just fed all the time, fed the grain products, sometimes even fed candy to fatten them up, because we know insulin will fatten you up really quickly. It's overcrowded, and I'm not a fan, guys. I'm just not a fan. I just want animals to be treated humanely, and I don't love that ideal. The other problem with that is that the grain that they use, the GMO grain, relies, especially corn, relies heavily on oil-based fertilizers and agricultural chemicals. I hope this was helpful. I was so confused about all this at one time, and I did my homework. I looked all of this up. So know your farm, know your farmer. That is probably the best way to do this, because you know how the cows are treated, you know where the feed looks like, you know where the pastures are. That's a great way, and then you can buy in bulk, and that's a great way to save money. Also, if you can't do that, you look for that AGA certification, and if you don't see that, you can look for an organic USDA organic grass-fed product, and that would probably make you pretty safe in finding the best meat for your family. And so I hope this was helpful. If it was, please like this video, and remember that you can follow me on Instagram, and you can like me on Facebook, Lindy Ford Nutrition and Wellness, and I'm on Twitter as well. Just remember, everyone deserves really clean, good beef, and everybody also deserves to live their best life.